Okay, today we're making some zhu roll baozi, or also Chinese pork buns. They're delicious. You could also do chicken, or there's a vegetarian option. They're really fluffy and they're yummy and they're delicious. And then we're going to toast the bottom on a few of them to see if they get a little crunchy. They're going to be super yummy, so let's check them out. Here they are.
Oh, those look nice.
We're going to start by boiling 60 grams of water, and then we're going to take 30 Sichuan peppercorns and 3 star anise and put it in the boiling water, and we're going to cover it. We're going to let that boiling water suck all of the spices and goodness out of those spices. Okay, we got our water boiling. Just pour it in your little bowl. Okay, and then we're going to cover this and let it soak all those flavors out of those spices. So next we're going to make the bun dough. So next I'm going to make the yeast mixture, and I'm going to measure out 315 grams of water. Now it's important to not have this water hotter than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, because if it is, it'll kill the yeast. So make sure it's around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, then you're going to add 6 grams of instant dry yeast to your water. Okay, then give this a mix and dissolve the yeast really well. And always remember to use your tiny whisk. Today I'm using this bun bao. It's a Vietnamese product that's made for dumplings, but you could also use all-purpose flour as well, but you may need to adjust the amount of water that you put in the recipe to make sure the dough is the appropriate consistency. Okay, in a large mixing bowl, you're going to add 600 grams of your flour. And then you're going to add 7.5 grams of sugar. The yeast ain't got no food. It's going to be sad. Okay, go ahead and stir in your water slowly. So put a little bit in, and then use your giant chopsticks that you got directly from Asia, also known as the Asian store. Give the yeast and water a home. Okay, so this is fairly dry still. I'm just going to add maybe another 5 or 10 grams of water to add to this, just to get a little bit more wet. So if you're going to do this, go super slow, because otherwise you'll overhydrate your buns. So you're really going to want to mix this for a good 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, you can see that it's pretty dry still, but if you press your finger in there, it should bounce back just a little bit, not a lot. So I'm going to kind of roll this into a little ball, and then you're going to want to cover this for 5 minutes. If you don't cover this, this is going to dry out. Okay, take your top off, and then you're going to take it out, and you're going to knead it on a clean surface for about 2 minutes. Okay, once you're done kneading, put a lid on it, and then you're going to let it sit covered until it doubles in size at room temperature, or a nice warm spot. Okay, in a bowl, put your zhu rou, or your pork, and for simplicity's sake, I just bought some pork, but you could also buy a piece of pork, cut off the fat that you don't want, and then chop it up by hand, or you could use a meat processor or a meat grinder if you want to. I'm just going to use some store-bought pork because it's just easier. So use your big, giant chopsticks to stir this up a little bit. And remember, the important thing is always stir in the same direction throughout this whole process, because otherwise your meat's going to fall apart. That's an Asian trick. So next we're going to prepare our green onions, and you can also use Chinese scallions as well. So I'm just going to cut the ends off, launch those puppies, and then you're going to need 60 grams of scallions. And I'm going to start with the white ends here and then use some of the greenies, but I think the white ends have more flavor. Okay, put these in a nice little bunch, and then you want to cut these up so they're in just tiny little bits. So to your meat, you're going to add 45 grams of soy sauce, and then we're going to add 4.5 grams of dark soy sauce, and then you're going to add 15 grams of oyster sauce, and then add 15 grams of ginger paste. Okay, then add a 1/4 teaspoon or 1 gram of ground white pepper. Then add 2 grams of salt, and add a teaspoon of sugar or 4 grams. Okay, with your giant chopsticks, make sure you stir this in the same direction for the rest of the process. I'm going counterclockwise. Again, otherwise you'll make your Asian ancestors mad. Now you're going to strain off your star anise and your Sichuan peppercorn from your water that's been steeping for an hour or so. Pour it through a little baby strainer. Give it a mix. Make sure you go counterclockwise. Smell it. That crap smells good. Sesame seed needs to be added next, and we're going to use 11 grams or 1 tablespoon. And then you're going to add 12 grams, or roughly 11 grams, about the same amount of vegetable oil, or 1 tablespoon. Okay, give it a mix. Go counterclockwise, or clockwise, but be consistent. Last but not least, add your scallions. Again, mix them in a counterclockwise direction. Once you're ready, put your lid on. Put it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. Okay, we're going to discuss some pro tips here. So the first pro tip is that when you ferment your Baozi breading, you want to have it at room temperature. Don't ferment your Baozi breading appropriately. You'll have a dense texture and it won't be fluffy. Pro tip number 2, make sure that when you roll out your Baozi breading, you need to have a thick center, or otherwise the meat mixture will break through and you'll have a nasty Baozi. Pro tip number 3, make sure you dust both sides of your Baozi after you get it rolled out, because when you pull it together and you make the pleats or the folds, they will stick together and you won't have little fluffy pleaty looking things. Pro tip number 4, make sure that when you roll out your breading, you don't make the edges of the breading too thin, because otherwise it's going to break down and your juices are going to soak through and you're going to have a nasty Baozi. Take a look at this. Pro tip number 5, don't overfill your Baozi. I've done that before and it just makes it too juicy and it makes the breading not fluffy, so just don't overfill these puppies. So pro tip number 6, if you put too much water in the meat mixture, again, will cause your breading to break down and it won't be fluffy. You got to have fluffy Baozi or it's going to suck. Pro tip number 7, last thing, is please don't cut corners when you're actually putting the Baozi in the steamer, the bamboo steamer. Otherwise, it's going to turn out to be garbage. And then you're going to have not fluffy, not yummy Baozi. It's going to be nasty Baozi. Okay, so this has been sitting for about 2 hours. You can see that it's doubled in size. It's not super smooth. So to test whether this is ready or not, put your finger down the center of this thing and see if it degasses. Now this degassed a little bit, so maybe it went just a little bit long, but it's still pretty fluffy. So letting this sit at room temperature for about an hour and a half to 2 hours is probably perfect. Pull out your dough. Flour your work surface. I'm just using some AP flour here, also known as all-purpose. Okay, dust it a little bit. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to roll this out. You're going to squish it, and the goal here is to degas your dough, okay? So roll it, squish it. This stuff's pretty soft. This is feeling pretty good right now. Make your Asian ancestors happy. Okay, once you get this kind of out in a long piece, fold it over in thirds. Squish it together. Knead it for another couple minutes. And then we'll start dividing this up. Okay, so start pinching off pieces. Get these pinched into 50-gram balls. Just roll them into tiny little balls. Little Baozi. Pinch it, make it into a nice little ball. Okay, lightly flour this a little bit before you put your Baozi down so they don't stick. Okay, there's all of our little babies covered. Next step is tricky, so let's get to it. I got this bamboo steamer, again from China, via the local Asian store. So what you're going to want to do is cut out some parchment paper. Each Baozi will have 1 piece of parchment paper. You can cut these into circles. We just prefer squares because it's a lot easier. And you're going to need 16 little squares. Okay, squish it down with your hand, one of your paws. Okay, make sure it's nice and dusty. Roll it out a little bit into a nice little circle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use your roller to start from the center and pull it out. You're going to leave a little mound in the center that helps to provide some strength to the meat that you're going to put down the center. So cup it in your hand. Put it in your little paw right down the center. Squish it around a little bit. Okay, and then you're going to use your 2 fingers. Your thumb here is going to hold down the meat down the center, but your 2 fingers are going to pinch. So you take your index finger and you pinch. And you pinch. Pinch from the outside pinch, 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 pinch. Okay, pinch, and then twist it. That's not very pretty, but that's not a bad looking one. And then you're going to put it in your bamboo steamer on a piece of parchment paper, and then just keep it covered until you're ready to cook. Okay, now get yourself a pot of cold water, and then you're going to sit your bamboo steamer over the pot that has cold water in it, and you let it sit for 10 minutes and let it finish rising. Turn the heat on high. Don't let the flames come up the side of the pot because it's going to burn your stinking bamboo thing like I did. Look how nice and burnt that is. It's sweet. But it also cooked the outsides of your baozi and not so much the insides. So what you're going to look for next is to look for steam coming out of the top of the bamboo steamer. Once you see the steam coming out, keep the water boiling for the next 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, then go ahead and turn the heat off, but don't take off the lid for another 5 minutes. What you're looking for is after that 5 minutes, and before you remove the lid, the steam will stop coming out of the lid. Don't take the lid off or your buns are gonna fall. Nobody likes droopy buns. Okay, let's check them out. So lift up your lid, it's been about 5 minutes. Oh, those look nice. They're not very pretty. Last thing you do is check the internal temperature of these puppies. Check the meat, make sure it's over 160. Okay, let's take a look on the inside of this puppy. Let's break it open and see what happens. Okay, looks good, nice and steamy. Meat looks nice and done. Okay, good, there's a little juice down in there. A little juicy juice. Okay, traditional way of eating this would be is to get some zhonggua laozhou you, which is hot chili oil, which we made last week. So take a little of that, stick it in your little bowl, and then you want to get some Chinese black vinegar, put it in there, but don't put too much in there. Comes out really fast. Ooh, good. Mix it up a little bit. Let's take a bite of it. That's pretty good. The dough is super fluffy. Chinese hot chili oil is a little spicy, it's delicious. Has a good flavor. I think you'll like it. Okay, bonus video. Put a little oil in the bottom of your pan. Get your heat turned on to medium. We'll let that oil heat up just a second, get it steamy a little bit. Okay, once you get your oil heated up, just stick a little baozi in there, give it a little swirl. What we're gonna do is we're gonna toast that bottom, make it super toasty. Holy Donkey Kong sim. Is that done already? Okay, let's check that bottom out. Oh, look at that, nice and toasty already. We're gonna pull that off, that cooked quick. Okay, there's our baozi. Look at the bottom, nice and crunch. Let's check it out. Ooh, did you hear that? Let's see what this crunch is like. That's better crunchy. Toast these bottoms. This elevates this baozi to 10.645. Eat it. Bye-bye. Once the steam comes out of it, once the steam, I can't speak since I got braces. I've been doing macros, you see, and I've been doing really good. But these baozi are so good, I'm gonna eat like 5 of them. So the last thing I want you to do is check the internal temperature of these puppies. Oh crap. Toast these bottoms. Blooper. And then we're gonna toast one of these mother puss bucket. Otherwise it's gonna turn out to garbage. Hey, can't say garbage since I got braces. I just put in 14. Extra sugar for the yeast. Pretty amazing. That's amazing balls. Nobody likes sweaty buns. People like sweaty buns. I think I need to watch the freaking video on how to do this because I'm not doing this right. And it could be that I'm just filming these too much, but they're just not gonna be pretty. It looks like crap. Right on the set.